Welcome back, viewers, to the second part of this ongoing lecture series on Sri Aurobindo's introduction to Bhagavad Gita. So I'm going to pick up from where I left in the last class, where I left in the last lecture. We completed the speaker, Shri Krishna, and his importance and his significance in Bhagavad Gita. And now, as we know, it was a dialogue. The Bhagavad Gita was basically a dialogue between two men of significance, and the dialogue is of even greater significance. So a brief intro about, just a brief intro about Sri Aurobindo. So Sri Aurobindo's teachings are a revolt against the Western hegemonic view of India, right? And the anti-India, the anti-Bharatiya stance of the West, right? So therefore, to create a pushback to the Indian knowledge systems, we need to read Sri Aurobindo and his works, right? So he even wrote one book, Is India Civilized?, which was a revolt against the Western hegemonic view and the attacks against Hinduism. So when Sri Aurobindo wrote Is India Civilized?, the readers can perhaps take an idea from the internet, and you can comment below in the section, right? What is the summary of Is India Civilized? In that, Sri Aurobindo basically attacks the Western viewpoint, the Western hegemonic view, right? So Sri Aurobindo's views are an attempt to decolonize the Indian mind, right? So basically, Sri Aurobindo says that if you want to go forward, then you have to look back, right? So Sri Aurobindo is a proponent of Renaissance, based on harking back to the old philosophical esoteric knowledge systems, and also to finding solutions in modern day from the ancient knowledge. So Sri Aurobindo says that to look towards modernism, we need to look towards the past, right? So he does not want society to live in the past. Let me make it very clear. He does not want society to live in the past, but rather only to take the best from the past, right? So regress only to progress. I would say that you can call it regress only to progress. So let us now talk about the listener. In the first part of the lecture, we talked about the speaker, Sri Krishna. Now let us talk about the listener, that is Arjun. As you can see on the screen, the listener, the recipient of the knowledge given in the Gita is the mighty hero Arjun, son of the great god Indra and the best of the Pandavas. Just as it is difficult to discover the aim of Gita and its hidden meaning by ignoring the speaker, similarly that meaning would suffer by ignoring the listener. So here, Sri Aurobindo will talk about the role of Arjun in Gita. So he's gonna stress upon the fact that Arjun became a disciple of Lord Krishna. He was also the best friend. He was a friend of Krishna, and there was also a sense of devotion and surrender, and it is only because of that surrender that Arjun was able to attain the deep philosophical knowledge, and which ultimately made him victorious at the end of Mahabharata. Look at page number 29. See what Lord Krishna says. In the fourth chapter, the Lord has pointed to this intimacy as the reason for choosing Arjun as the one person fit to hear the supreme secret of the Gita. So you can read the Sanskrit shlok, and it is translated below. I have revealed this ancient and forgotten yoga to you this day because you are my intimate friend and devotee. For this yoga is the best and the ultimate secret of the world. Right? So here Shri Krishna is essentially saying, and Shri Krishna considers Arjun as his very dear friend, as well as his student, as well as his devotee, right? And that is why he narrates the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita to him. So what Sri Aurobindo is saying, that there has to be this total surrender towards one's guru, towards one's friend, and that is only when you will attain the wisdom. So in this case, the surrender should be towards the Supreme God. This is what Sri Aurobindo is trying to say here. Okay, next page number 30, as you can see on the screen. The first lesson in the relation of friends is the giving up of all fear to give up all outward show of respect. In its second lesson, love is its first and last word. He is the fit recipient of the knowledge given in the Gita, who understands this world movement as a sweet and mysterious game full of love and bliss, elects God as his playmate, and can bind him to himself in a tie of friendship. He is the fit recipient of the knowledge given in the Gita, who realizes the greatness and power of God. So as I mentioned in this case, Sri Aurobindo says that you have to surrender towards Lord Shri Krishna, and Arjun does that, and that is exactly why and how he attains worldly wisdom as well as supernatural wisdom, and that is the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, next part, as you can see, you are my best well-wisher and friend, in whom else shall I take refuge? I have lost my power of thought. I am frightened by the weight of responsibility. I am swayed by doubts as to what I should do. I am overwhelmed by acute sorrow. You save me, give me advice, and I leave in your hands all responsibilities for my welfare in this world and beyond. So whatever these lines that I have just now read, these are read by Arjun. These are spoken. These are spoken by Arjun. So here, friendship in Arjun's words means surrender and a full faith. Surrender and full faith in the friend, that is God Shri Krishna. We can skip a few paragraphs, come below to page number 33. Now, a very important paragraph on page number 33, because this section tells us why Arjun got the gift of Bhagavad Gita. Why Arjun got the gift of Gita, right? Let us read this. Arjun was not the best among his great contemporaries. In a spiritual knowledge, Vyas was the greatest. In all kinds of worldly knowledge of that epoch, Bhishma was the best. In the thirst for knowledge, King Dhritarashtra and Vidur led the rest. In saintliness and sattvic qualities, Yudhishthir was the best. In devotion, there was none equal to Uddhav and Akrur, his eldest brother Karm. A mighty warrior led in inborn strength and courage, and yet it was Arjun whom the Lord of the worlds elected. It was in his hands that he placed divine weapons like the Gandiv bow and gave to him eternal victory. Above all, it was Arjun whom he decided was the one fit recipient of the supreme knowledge given in the Gita. It was Arjun alone who is the hero and the principal actor in the Mahabharata. Every section of that poem proclaims the fame and the glory of him alone. There is no undue partiality on the part of Supreme Divine or of the great Vyas, author of the Mahabharata. The high position derives from complete faith and self-surrenders. So Sri Aurobindo says that there are certain other things which were better in several of the other people, in several of the other characters, but still Lord Krishna gave Arjun the gift of Gita because of his full devotion, his full faith, his full surrender unto the Lord. Moving forward, he says, he who puts to use in his work the qualities and inspiration given by him instead of eagerly hugging the qualities admired by himself, it is that selfless and faithful karma yogin who becomes the Supreme's dearest friend and the best vehicle of his power. Through him is accomplished flawlessly a stupendous work of the world. He alone who makes a serious effort at self-surrender, very important lines, is the one best fitted to receive the Gita's teachings. And who was this in this case? It was the listener, Arjun. So that is why Sri Aurobindo says that you have to surrender yourself to your friend. You have to surrender yourself to your friend, and in this case it is Lord Shri Krishna. It can be your own respective Lord. Right? Now, let's come to the third major part, that is the circumstance. So this section of the introduction by Sri Aurobindo will discuss the Mahabharata war and its significance. So basically, the circumstance in which this dialogue was happening was the Mahabharata war. Now, look at page number 35. Now, this section, these lines that I'm going to read, that you are going to see on the screen now, will talk about the circumstance of the Mahabharata war. As you can see, page 35, but in fact, Shri Krishna revealed the knowledge contained in the Gita at that moment and in that situation to a person in that frame of mind with full knowledge of the time, place and circumstance. The time was at the commencement of the war. Those who have not developed or put to a test their heroic qualities and strength in a mighty flood of action can never be fit to receive the knowledge given in the Gita. Okay, so the circumstance, as we know, is the very difficult circumstance of war, when Arjun is completely going mad looking at the bloodshed, the mayhem that he will cause, and by the fact that he has to kill his own cousins, he has to kill his own brothers, he has to kill his own cousins, his own relatives, his own elder uncles, right? His own paternal and maternal uncles. So he knows that, and because of that, he is deeply depressed, he's upset. So one can only imagine the pain, the agony, the confusion, the disillusion that Arjun might have been going through at that point of time, when he knew that he has to kill his own brothers, he has to kill his own uncles, he has to kill and fight against his own gurus, the gurus who taught him how to fight, the gurus who taught him how to pull a bow and an arrow. So perhaps he has to take that ghastly decision of killing them, of facing them, of damaging them, of hurting them. So one can only imagine the frustrated, the disillusioned state of mind that Arjun might have been. So this is the circumstance, the very grave circumstance. So what the Gita teaches us is that you have to be in the place of Arjun in the most difficult of circumstances, and it is only one thing which should help you in that difficult circumstance. And what is that? That is Karm Yoga. That despite being in the harshest of circumstances, despite your back firmly pushed against the wall, you have to follow your karma, you have to do what it requires to do at that particular time, and you do not have to flinch away, you do not have to shy away from action and karma. That is Karma Yoga. So the Gita is not asking you, the Gita is not asking me, the Gita is not asking its viewers, the Gita is not asking anyone to renounce the world, but rather the Gita tells us what we shall do. What we shall do in the right spirit, what we shall do when our spirits are low, what we shall do when our backs are pushed against the wall. This is the larger idea that Bhagavad Gita says. We do not have to associate it with a religion. We do not have to associate it with Hindu religion. We do not have to associate it with any one particular nation or one particular religion. Gita is for humanity. So a person sitting in the Western world, a person sitting in any XYZ country of this world, holds the same relevance when he is dejected, when she is lost, when she is defeated, when he is defeated. At that point of time, one should always and always turn to Bhagavad Gita to get inspiration. So this is the larger idea. So as students, when you are demotivated to study, or perhaps as students when you feel that you have lost the battle, still Lord Krishna asks you, or perhaps I should rephrase it in such a manner, it is Bhagavad Gita which asks you to just keep on going forward, to follow your dharma, to follow your karam. And chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita talks about, and it is one of the most important, one of the most essential chapters, Karma Yoga, to follow your rightful karma, to follow your dharma, and that is doing what is right. Right? So this is the larger significance of Bhagavad Gita that I am trying to discuss here. Now come to page 37. This is the very important paragraph. This is the main point of this section. Okay, so Sri Aurobindo and both the Gita says that one must be attached to the karma, not to the results. Right? One must be attached to the karma, and one must do karma for the sake of doing the karma, because that is your prime responsibility. Okay, you do not have any say or any claim whatsoever on the result. You should have a claim on the karma. So just do your karma and forget about the results, because it is ultimately the God and ultimately the larger universe, ultimately the world, and you have to manifest the result, and the result will be manifested through your karma and karma only. This is the larger part of Bhagavad Gita, right? So again and again I am stressing that you readers do not have to associate it with any one particular religion. No, it is incorrect, right? Bhagavad Gita is closely associated with the Hindu cultural thought, but Bhagavad Gita is for the larger humanity, right? So Aurobindo says that superior men are those, Lord Krishna says that superior men are those who are not attached to the result of their karma. So this is the paragraph on page number 37. Those who practice the Gita's yoga are the most capable workers, and yet they remain unattached to their work. Right in the midst of their work, they may hear the inner call of the self, desist from the work and plunge themselves in yoga and do the inner ascesis. They know that the work is God's and the fruit is His. They are instruments, so they have no anxiety about the fruit. They also know that the inner call comes for facilitating the yoga of works, for an improvement in the working, for an increase of knowledge and power. Therefore, they do not fear to desist from their works. They know that in the spiritual effort, there can never be any unnecessary waste of time. So focus only on the work, not on the result. As we move forward on page 38, there is this important paragraph. So according to Sri Aurobindo, Bhagavad Gita was narrated by Krishna during the war, because it was in war that Arjun had the biggest doubts of his life, of his whole life. And through this Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives us the way forward in the tough situations in life. So whenever you are in tough situations, imagine yourself to be like Arjun. Come back and read Bhagavad Gita, perhaps take a word or even one line or one word from the Bhagavad Gita can do wonders for you and can allow you to become better in life, isn't it? That's exactly what Bhagavad Gita actually tells us. That is why, and I'm reading now from page 38, that is why the Gita was uttered during the war of Kurukshetra, acts that were terribly worldly, the killing of one's teachers and brothers and kins. These were the objectives of that war. As its commencement, which destroyed thousands of creatures, Arjun throws away the divine bow from his hands, knowing not what to do. So as we know, this is a difficult situation, and I am very sure that none of us will ever be in such a difficult situation. So one can just imagine that if Arjun can do it in such difficult circumstances, who are we? Our pains, our afflictions, our problems may not be as large as Arjun's. So definitely the Bhagavad Gita is something, its application is much more easier for us at this point of time than it was for Arjun. So if Arjun can do it, why not lesser men like us, lesser women like us, lesser human beings like us? Why can we not do it? Right? Now, look at what Shri Krishna says. These lines are replied by Krishna to Arjun's doubt, and this is the essence of Gita's Karm Yoga, which means action, doing one's karma, one's action and fulfilling of duty. Therefore, go on doing works, the kind of work your ancestors have been doing. That work you too have to perform. Do works in a state of union with the divine by giving up attachment. Therefore, strive for the yoga. Yoga is the best means of work. If a man works in spirit of detachment, he will certainly find God. Right? And look at the last line. And the Gita's aim is not to teach asceticism, but to teach the way of works. Herein lies the universal utility of the Gita. So this is the universal utility of Bhagavad Gita. Sri Aurobindo at the end says that Gita is not about religion, but about life in general, and how to live and how to approach one's life. That is what Bhagavad Gita is all about. Right? So as I've mentioned, Karm Yoga is one of the most important learnings from Bhagavad Gita, and in this part of introduction by Sri Aurobindo. So Krishna does not want any of us to renounce the life. He doesn't want inaction and just leaving everything for worldly and leaving all worldly pleasures, right? He doesn't want us to don the robes of an ascetic, right? But rather he says that Karm Yoga can be achieved in Kali Yuga, right? Krishna says that everything can be achieved in flesh and blood. You can be a Karm Yogi even in flesh and blood, right? It is most evident in chapter number 3 of Bhagavad Gita, and where Krishna doesn't advocate renunciation. And this introduction by Sri Aurobindo also talks about the same thing, right? So, and even Krishna has his duty, right? Being the Lord of the universe, even Krishna has his own duty. He has to stand there in the war for so many days. He has to take the pains of the various aspects. He has to take up the pains, he has to take up the pleasures, but he also is doing his karma, right? So even Krishna has a duty which he is following. He does not need anything, but yet he is there on the battlefield doing his job, doing his karma. So if the Lord is doing it, how can we lesser human beings not do it? Right? So if Krishna is not able to escape his duty, how can we human beings escape from our duty? So we must not do that. And also Krishna also says that whatever action a great man performs, others will follow him. Right? And if Krishna doesn't do his duty, will the humans follow him? What will happen about the humanity at large? Right? So that is why Krishna is also doing his duty, because whatever a great man does, the others follow him. So if Krishna is doing his duty, we lesser human beings have to follow him. So that is pretty much the end of this 2-part lecture series on Bhagavad Gita and Sri Aurobindo's introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, which is a part of our syllabus VAC Culture and Communication. So at the end of the lecture, I would urge everyone to once in a while, in moments of distress, in moments of dissatisfaction, when you have lost everything, you must go back to the Bhagavad Gita. Or perhaps you can simply read chapter number 3, Karm Yoga. Or perhaps if you do not have time to do that, you can simply read the introduction by Sri Aurobindo on Bhagavad Gita, and that will give and that will solve all your problems, that is for sure. I hope to see you soon in several other parts. I'll be taking up, as we know, this is a part of the ongoing lecture series. I'll be taking up several other parts in the subsequent lectures as well. Till then, keep watching Hansraji Samvad. Keep discussing these ideas with your friends. Keep reading. And I hope to see you soon in the other parts of the lecture. Goodbye for now.